Hello, hello. Welcome back to my happy place. I don't usually blog when I do videos, but there's been a story. Sorry, it's my paper. Been a story that's been stuck in my head for weeks now, and I wanted to share it with you. And I'm going back to 1986. And I thought I'd just do a look while I was doing this. And did I forget my glasses? Of course I did. This is a Charlotte Tilbury, and it's called, what are you called? I don't know. It was a small palette that I bought a year last August at the Nordstrom sale. And it has the little numbers printed on it, how you're supposed to use it. Oops. Which I don't usually follow, especially since the number 1 looks shimmery. Well, it is a little, but I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to go to number 3. So, going back to 1983, my kids were little. My husband and I, we bought a small farmhouse, a barn, and around 50 acres in upstate New York, in Sydney, New York. Now, my mother came to visit. She loved it so much, she decided to stay. So she was living up there full time. We'd had the house about a year by 1986. So she decided she wanted to have chickens. Now, being from Queens, New York, I don't know nothing about no chickens. I knew nothing about chickens. So she saw in the local paper that they were having an animal auction. So she wanted to go. My mother didn't drive, never drove in her life. So I took her. I'm just going to go into this darker color here that's on this side. And the 4 children to this animal auction. So we were walking around, and in the back of the auction before it started, they had pens, animal pens, and with an alleyway, maybe 6 feet wide or so. So we went down the alleyway and looking at the animals that were up for auction. Poor little things. And I get to nearly the end. It was about 50 feet all the way down to the end, when into the loading bay comes a pig, a sow. The biggest animal I had ever seen in my life. She looked like, to me, looking at her, a rhinoceros. And the young man unloading her, we made eye contact. And I saw the fear in his eyes. Now, mind you, I'm holding the 2 children. My mother is about 10 feet back from me, holding the other 2 children. Well, after our eyes met, and I met the eyes of the pig, she was very angry about having to go to the auction, I picked up 2 kids under my arms, turned around, and ran like Sonic the Hedgehog or Roadrunner out of there. As I'm running out, I pass my mother, and I yell at her, "Pig!" So after a little bit, I get to the end, and and I look around, and my mother's not there yet. And then she comes running up, and she says, why didn't you tell me to run? Why did you not tell me there was a pig coming? And I said, I yelled, pig. I said, if I yelled bear, you would have run. But it was all I could get out because, like I say, I was making wind all the way down. What am I going to use on the... So the auction starts. And mind you, she just wants a couple of little chickens. So chickens don't come up, pigs and cows and different things. And then the chickens came up. And she bought the chickens. She bid on them. There was 6 brown hens, laying hens. Way overpaid for them. Now you have to keep in mind, I'm going back to 1986. And this place is full of men, farmers, who have just come from a day of work because now it's afternoon. So they've been milking the cows and taking care of the animals, and they're in rough shape. So then these 2 little goats come up. Now, we're just sitting there watching, like enjoying a show. So I was just looking at the shimmer I was using. So the bidding starts, and he keeps pointing over towards me. So I kind of looking around like, who's bidding? And he keeps again pointing. One person is like over on the other side, and he's pointing in my direction. So all of a sudden he says, sold to the little girl in the pigtails. And I, what? I said to my daughter, who was about 3 years old, I said, did you buy goats? And she says, it's Spritzy and Snowball. Now Spritzy and Snowball, she was very into Heidi at that time. And Spritzy and Snowball were the 2 little goats, because they were young. I don't even know how young, not mature, but young goats. Spritzy and Snowball are the 2 goats that are in Heidi. And she said, I had to save them. So now I've got a crate of chickens. And I don't know if you've ever seen a chicken crate. It's like a wooden crate. And it smelled so bad. Chickens smell bad. You don't see that on TV, but chickens smell really bad, like chicken poop. It smells like manure. In those days, I had my husband had gotten me like a custom van. It's the kind of van that had a TV in the back, and then it had a row of seats in the back for 3, and then it had 2 middle seats, individual seats, and then the 2 seats in front. So now it's time to go. I pay the man $35 for the 2 goats, and I don't remember how much the chickens were. And as we're about to leave, and I'm looking around, no leash, no rope, no nothing for these goats. So I struggle, open up the back of the van, and put this case of chickens, this chicken crate, in the back of my van, because the trunk was very tiny. And I stick it up there and close the door, and I'm like, oh, the smell is just so awful, because the chicken crate smelled bad too. And I was very grateful they came in a crate, because then I turn around and I have to do the goats. So I pick up the goats one at a time, and I take them to the van. And then I pick up the other one, and I take it to the van. Poor little things. So now I'm driving home. I have 2 goats who are not house trained, by the way, ever. We bring them home. Now, what do I do with the goats? So we had a barn. So I put them in the barn. And we ended up with goats. Now, afterwards I had to clean out the van. They do tiny little round poops. There was little round poops all over my van. I'm sorry, it just cracks me up because I keep thinking about it. And we had many, many adventures with these little goats, because it turns out goats are really a lovely animal, and I so wish in my area they would be allowed you'd be allowed to have a little goat. And they weren't, there was a little black one with horns and a pure white one. And they don't get that big. And they don't bark. So I don't know why you couldn't have a goat in your backyard. But apparently you can't. But the adventures we had with these goats was just amazing. I can't tell you how many times I had to chase them out of my house with a broom because they knew how to open up the front screen door. Okay, what am I doing? I'm just going to do a little mascara. I'm just doing it's a Sunday night. Wasn't doing much. And I just thought I would tell my story. And this story keeps coming to my mind because I watch a channel called Glam. And every time I watch her channel, I think how I had ended up with 2 goats. A woman from Queens with 4 children. And my husband only came up, where's the top to this? Only came up on his days off. So I had no help. So eventually we ended up with, which is a different story, but we ended up with over 140 chickens. But if you want to hear that story, I can tell you. So that's my story. And I just did a 5-minute look because I already have my base down. I just used the Charlotte Tilbury foundation, a little blush, because mostly I want to open up my boxes because my boxes have been so late. And my next video is going to be my FabFitFun, and I'm not sure if it's the actual box or it's the box on add-ons, but it's extremely heavy. I know I ordered a lot of add-ons for Christmas presents. I don't know about you, but all my shopping was done online. I have the nicest conversations with the UPS man and the mailman. We know everything about each other. Let me just pull you in and I'll show you what I did today. And I suppose it would be helpful if I used a lipstick. I'm just going to put on this neutral brown because it's at my hand. So that's it for me. I want to thank Glam for bringing back this happy memory for me, because it was all in all a very happy day. And like I say, we had many fun adventures with these goats as they were growing. So I want to say happy trails until we meet again. Bye-bye.